Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another L.G.TV. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking, all right? So before we get into the content, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me okay and that everything looks good on the screen. If that's the case, give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, then give me a thumbs down or an angry face. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to give some quick acknowledgments to the people who are in the building early. We got my man Ali 8100. What's good with it, bro? Good to see you as always. We got Carlton Way in the building. We got Terrence Jackson. Shout out to the CEO of the Chat Spam Mafia. My man Cameron Jones is in the building early. All right, let me see who else we got up in here. We got my man Terrence Jackson in the building. And I think as of now, that is it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue some of the topics that we were talking about last night, because there's some pretty interesting things going on with this nonsense. And if you ask me, I think that we need to keep track of it, because they are always, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats, attempting to merge this kind of nonsense with any political objectives that we have going on. Shout out to Terrence Jackson over there on Rumble. All right. Shout out to the people over on Rumble. We got 8 people watching. If everybody could smash that like button and get us up to 8 likes and hit that follow button if you're not subscribed, that would be great. So let's check out what's going on with this right here. All right. Right here, they're asking the question, are you transphobic, to the woman that we looked at yesterday, Riley Gaines. Now, based on what Riley Gaines said yesterday, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you all feel that Riley Gaines is transphobic? If you guys feel that she is, give me a thumbs up. If you guys feel that she is not, then give me a thumbs down.
Thank you. Ms. Gaines, I'd like to start with you if I could. And thanks again for sharing your story. I've been touched and saddened to hear of the misogynistic and discriminatory treatment that you received from the NCAA, which I regard as nothing short of shameful. You've handled it with grace and courage, and I appreciate that example that you're setting for so many women and girls across America. Your story reminded me of a letter that I received from a constituent a couple of years ago, a constituent who explained to me her own story with girls and women's athletics. She explained that she would never have been able to go to college. She never would have had a chance at a college education had she not done so under an athletic scholarship. And while she was in college, she became the most dominant female track athlete in the state of Utah. And she was a 2-time All-American sprinter who held the 100-meter record at BYU for 22 years. She told me that even at the height of her collegiate year, as one of the top female sprinters in the country, she would sometimes go to help her dad, who coached high school track, and she would go to those events with her dad. She said even then, the high school boys could beat her because of biological differences between people.
Here's my question. Why is it that in 2023, in this quote unquote great, this allegedly great advanced American society that we have, why are we asking such basic questions? Why is there a debate about such basic information? if we're so advanced, or if this civilization is so advanced as the people who, I guess, patched it together say that it is.
Who are born male and people who are born female. So what would you say to all the high school female athletes who worry about losing potential college scholarships? To say nothing of the world in which we now face name, image, likeness, endorsements, things like that, all the things that they might forego as a result of having to compete for scholarships, endorsements, and notoriety with people who were born male.
My message would be that it's not transphobic to acknowledge how women deserve respect, how we deserve safety, how we deserve fairness, we deserve keeping our dignity. It's not transphobic to say that. It's not transphobic to say that you can't change.
I want you guys to pay very close attention to how all of these conversations about trans people completely exclude the gender exclusivity of men. Have you guys noticed that? If you guys noticed that, give me a thumbs up. They got this feminist up here, Riley Gaines, advocating for women with no regard for men, despite the fact that she's married to a man. I want you guys to see how there's no male activism as far as how this goes, and all of these women, mainly white women, are being celebrated for this as if they're doing something extraordinary when they're not. If you guys can see that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys can't see that, give me a thumbs down.
Change your sex. Sex is down to a chromosomal level, and that's not something that can be changed, and that matters in sports. Your biology, that sports is the one area where that your sexual chromosomes matter. And again, I'll echo Harley's message as well, as you're not alone. The overwhelming majority of people regarding this issue of fairness in women's sports agree that having men in women's sports is wrong and that it's unfair and it's a violation to, again, our privacy and rights to safety as women. So that would be my message: to be bold, be empowered, and before anything, stand firm in the truth, biological truth.
Are you transphobic, Riley?
That is simply not true.
Do you hold anything against transgender persons?
Absolutely not. I agree Leah Thomas is following the rules set in place by the NCAA, and I have no problem with Leah Thomas. I do believe there's a bit of selfishness and narcissism and entitlement surrounding this person in regards to the utter disregard that Thomas displayed for us in these situations.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. When it comes to this particular topic, who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for the quote unquote gender debate? That's what I'm curious about. In your opinion, what sector of society holds the greatest responsibility for this nonsense that we're going through right now as far as these gender questions? Let me know what you guys think. And shout out to the people on YouTube. We got 8 live viewers and we got 8 likes. If you haven't smashed that like button, make sure that you guys smash that like button. Shout out to the people on Rumble. We got 11 live viewers. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Let's try to get up to 11 likes over there.
But I have no animosity towards Thomas. My problem is the NCAA. My problem is the Biden administration pushing a rewrite of Title IX. That is my problem, and that's why I'm here. That's why this issue has become
Facts. I agree with Cameron. Now, if you guys watched the stream that I did yesterday and all the streams that I've done covering this content, I want you guys to pay very close attention to how, despite the fact that we all know who it is that created this issue, they're trying to put a black face on it. That's one of the reasons why they have that black socialist fist on the LGBTQ flag. That's all the doing of white liberals and white conservatives. Identity theft.
Political for me, because I realize that legislation is the way you curb these things. I can't believe it's come to this, but I have no hate in my heart towards anyone, even the protesters who mobbed me. The first thing that I did was prayed for them. I saw the soullessness, the vengeance, the violence in their eyes, and they do it in the name of love and inclusion and acceptance and tolerance and welcoming and embracing diversity, but they did not embrace my diverse thought. That to me was what hate looked like. Nothing in my heart is hateful.
How about the NCAA? Did the NCAA embrace your diversity? Tell me what attempts that the NCAA made to accommodate you and other.
What kind of diversity is there? Oh yeah, I forgot. They fall under Title IX. I want you guys to see. Do you all see the kind of political clusterfuck that this quote unquote advanced society that we supposedly have has created as a result of things like this, feminism? If you guys see that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't see it, give me a thumbs down. This woman right here, who looks like 70% of the United States, is sitting there talking about diversity. I mean, she benefits from diversity programs, but I bet you if you ask her politics, She disagrees with diversity programs. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that she's confused about anything? Is she confused?
They're female swimmers who felt uncomfortable sharing an open locker room with a biological male.
Nothing. They actually made us feel guilty for feeling as if we were uncomfortable. Time and time again, that's what we saw. There was even a group of girls who undress in the janitor's closet. They changed clothes in the janitor's closet because they felt more comfortable undressing in that environment than they did undressing next to someone with male gaze.
And were they doing that because they were transphobic?
They were doing it because they were violated.
Tell me how they were violated.
I think 2, 3, 4 years ago, if a man claims the identity of simply saying they are a woman, walks into a locker room, a DA would follow this man into a locker room, arrest him, and he's charged with sexual harassment, voyeurism, indecent exposure, and the list goes on. But this was celebrated. This was encouraged. Leah Thomas was then nominated for NCAA Woman of the Year, which is an award that I was also nominated for. But when I
Now, remember back in the day, Joe Biden called black men super predators, right? And Joe Biden and the rest of the United States celebrated that labeling of super predators, attempting to attribute characteristics to black men as inherent, basically the same activities that this woman here is talking about. But now let me ask you guys a question. Is Leah Thomas a black male? Shout out to Reserved Intelligence. Is Leah Thomas a black male?
saw the full list of nominees and saw that NCAA Woman of the Year was not exclusive to just women, the award was immediately devalued and meaningless to me. That's how they were honoring this rather than making us feel reassured in our feelings that this was wrong.
When you accommodate men time and time again, refusing to accommodate women, we call that misogyny. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, we call that misogyny. That's interesting. So I want you guys to pay attention to how they can get on this political grift. When it's convenient, we can be a feminist, right? But when it's not convenient, well, anything that we're talking about is misogyny. I want you to pay very close attention. Very close attention. Now, people want to ask these questions, right? About how these things get mixed up into what we have going on. How many people remember Marianne Williamson? Shout out to TD Hip Hop Media for checking Marianne Williamson and getting her to get her website up to date, despite the fact that nobody supports that idiot anyway. Marianne Williamson was recently on an episode of Piers Morgan. How many people saw this episode of Piers Morgan? Probably not many, because most people spend time griping about what other Black content creators are talking about and not paying very close attention to the people that spend most of the watch hours that they get trashing us, which is all good, because those people that pay attention to my content can check this out in the form of a reaction video. All right. Marianne Williamson and all of her hippie pot smoke nonsense politics decided to trot her moronic ass on Piers Morgan. And she did something that she wasn't willing to do with Marcel Dixon. She actually had a conversation with Piers Morgan. And what she had as far as a conversation with Piers Morgan was not about reparations. It was about gender identity. Now, before we get started watching this nonsense, my question for you all is, what do you all think Marianne Williamson's Woodstock stance on gender identity is? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section what you think.
Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Well, Marianne Williamson is a best-selling author, celebrity spiritualist, confidant of Oprah Winfrey, and she has her way. She'll also be America's first female president with many Democrats.
I didn't know that she was an Oprah Winfrey confidant. That explains a lot. Did you all know that Marianne Williamson was an Oprah Winfrey confidant? I sure as heck didn't.
That's warning that Joe Biden is simply too old to run again. She wants to outflank him from the left, the more youthful left, you might think, and harness love to defeat Donald Trump. And I'm delighted to say you're here in London.
Harness love to defeat Donald Trump. That sounds a lot like Cornel West, doesn't it? That sounds a lot like Cornel West. So let's harness love. Let me ask you guys a question. Why do these people all sound like they're high? How much room is there for love when it comes to dealing with business?
Dana, in my studio. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I want to play you a clip. This is President Biden last week ending a speech about gun violence by completely randomly saying this.
It's the least consequential part of this whole meeting for you. I promise. All right. God save the Queen, man.
Okay, well, two things. The Queen died 10 months ago.
She's not our queen.
Our monarch, yes, not your Queen, and our Queen died 10 months ago. This is the latest thing involving President Biden, where he just said stuff which makes no sense. Actually, it's pretty inappropriate to some people, quite offensive.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Is that a trait discriminant to Joe Biden, or are there a bunch of people that we can list that just say things that don't make sense and that aren't appropriate? You guys can list the people that do that or have done that in the comment section if you guys want to, because I'm sure there's plenty. One of them being this idiot right here that's on the screen, Piers Morgan.
He seems to have forgotten our Queen died last year. And it goes to his mental capability. It's a big issue. I mean, it can't be ignored, I don't think. How do you feel about this?
I think it's for the individual voter to decide. It gets personal, and I don't want to be personal about this. I'm running against the president on issues. There are many people in his camp who would argue, yes, he makes gaffes like this, but when it comes to his decision-making on issues, he's just fine. Every individual has to decide on that, and I think it's kind of cheap for me to go there.
Let me ask you guys a question. How do you feel about Biden's decision-making? If you all feel that Joe Biden and his decision-making are sound, give me a thumbs up. If you guys do not feel that Joe Biden and his decision-making is sound, then give me a thumbs down or a laughing emoji in the chat. She literally just said that she believes that Joe Biden's decision-making is sound. Now, if she feels that Joe Biden decision-making is sound, you definitely have to question what kind of decisions she would think are good decisions. I don't think Joe Biden has made many sound decisions.
I mean, it happens a lot.
It happens a lot. Obviously, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I'd make a better president.
Right. I want to talk about a couple of issues with you, which are in the news, which you have quite strong views about. One, I want to play you a clip. This is the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who was heard on a leaked video talking about the big trans debate at the moment.
You may have noticed L.G.TV has been very busy. Like me, you were probably seeing that he was busy trying to convince everybody that women clearly had penises. And I was reflecting, you all know I'm a big fan of everybody studying maths at 18. But it turns out that we need to focus on biology at 18.
So this has become a big thing, right? Along with the question, what is a woman? There's now a big debate where British political leaders have been...
Why is what is a woman a question? Why is what is a woman a debate? Why is the focus also on what is a woman? Why isn't there the question about what is a man? This right here is one of the reasons why I don't have sympathy for the effects that females are feeling as a result of the LGBTQ issues going on in the United States. I have no sympathy for the women and what they deal with as far as this goes, because they're the #1 advocates for it, as we prove time and time again. Have you guys seen a video yet of a man advocating for any of this? So as far as I'm concerned, let these women fight their fight. They caused it on themselves.
Been asked about whether a woman can have a penis, and they've given varying answers. The British Prime Minister says no. The Labour leader says 99% of women do not. And the Liberal Democrat leader, who he was referencing there, says clearly women can have penises. On the face of it, this might seem a strange debate to be having.
We are actually debating this in 2023, ladies and gentlemen, in this advanced society that these people claim is the best country and the best culture in the in the world. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is clear and how pressing of an issue that this actually is when it comes to U.S. politics. And now we have to maintain and make sure that we keep the focus on who it is that caused the confusion and put these issues into the forefront for something to be debated to begin with. Now, remember, Marianne Williamson called Marcel Dixon an anti-Semite. Do you all remember that? If you guys remember that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't remember that, give me a thumbs down.
But what are the answers? I mean, you're a presidential candidate.
Well, in the United States, I think we are obviously going through a cultural transformation. People are getting more comfortable with the notion of gender fluidity, non-binary sexuality. For me, it's an issue of freedom. People get to be whoever they want to be, do whatever they want to do if it doesn't hurt anyone else. To me, we have to follow a North Star in our society. That North Star is the idea that all people are created equal. If you talk to me about a trans American,
I'm not very racist. I'm not very religious. I'm not very any of that. I'm not very Bible bumping. But if I'm not mistaken, last time I checked, Lucifer was the North Star. Now, I don't know what that means. And there's a lot of people that like to merge the Bible and politics. I don't like to merge the Bible into politics because for the 90 millionth time, the Bible's not a fact. But for people that do like to merge the Bible and politics, I think it's interesting that this woman is saying that we need to follow, quote unquote, a North Star. There's always a lot of symbolism and code when these people talk. And whether the Bible is fiction or whether it's not, there's a lot of metaphor and simile in the Bible and a lot of things that can be taken from these messages that are put forth. So pay very close attention to the things that these people say.
do whatever they want to do if it doesn't hurt anyone else. To me, we have to follow a North Star in our society. That North Star is the idea that all people are created equal. If you talk to me about a trans American, the part that matters to me is the word American. And so,
But what is a woman to you?
Listen, it's whatever at this point in somebody's culture, in American culture, certainly kind of whatever anyone says that it is.
So I want you guys to pay very close attention. According to her, a woman is what anybody says that a woman is. Now, we got 11 people watching on Rumble. Shout out to the people on Rumble. And we have 10 people watching on YouTube. Shout out to the people watching on YouTube. Shout out to my man Torian Rain who just joined the chat. I'm going to ask you guys this question. What is a woman? Now, Marianne Williamson literally just said that the idea of a woman has no definition and that definition can change from place to place. I never knew that was the case, but according to Marianne Williamson, that's what she says. Now, here's my question. How many people support politics like this? That's a big fact, Cameron. Super facts. Torian says, now, how is it a man can know what a man is? A man can know what a woman is. A woman can know what a man is, but for some reason, a woman does not seem to know what a woman is. Is their brain filled with mush? I'm starting to believe it is, bro. I believe that it is. I want you guys to pay very close attention to what Marianne Williamson, alleged reparations advocate, says about what a woman is.
And so,
But what is a woman to you?
Listen, it's whatever at this point in somebody's culture, in American culture, certainly kind of whatever anyone says that it is.
Yeah, but it
I
can't
know
be.
I
It
was.
can't be though.
Yes,
So-
it absolutely.
In America, now, mind you, according to her, in American culture, a woman is whatever anybody says a woman is. So, I mean, if we call a woman a bitch, then she's a bitch, right? Per Marianne Williamson, a woman is whatever a woman says she is. So if I say that a woman is a bitch, or if I say women are bitches, then I mean, I guess they're just bitches because I'm somebody and I said that, right? Or if I call somebody a slut or a whore or a hoe, right? I mean, help me out. By her logic, that's applicable and valid.
Word American. And so,
But what is a woman to you?
listen, it's whatever at this point in somebody's culture, in American culture, certainly kind of whatever anyone says that it is.
Yeah, but it
I
can't
know
be.
I
It
was.
can't be though.
Yes,
So-
it absolutely can. If people
You
want
say
to
until it
identify a
hurts
certain
people,
way-
but if anyone can
Oh,
put their
I-
hand up and say they're a woman, we had a situation we had recently where the leader of the Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon of the Scottish National Party, she had to resign after putting a biological male rapist into a women's prison. So there is obviously damage there from self-identity.
So now we've seen issues like that here in the United States, right? We've seen issues in the United States where there have been trans women put into female jail or prison facilities and women coming up pregnant, right? Torian says, why are they scared to answer that question honestly? This is why I believe a lot of women are under the Academy's spell. Absolutely. Women are the #1 advocates. This is why I don't feel, I have no sympathy for any woman dealing with an issue related to this. I have zero sympathy for any of them whatsoever. None. Because they brought this on. They brought this on. This is the culmination of their rhetoric. This is their world is correct moment.
Identity, isn't it?
Well, certainly, yeah, but I think the issue there was rapists, not the issue of the sexual.
What is the fact she
gender
felt
orientation
that she
of it.
felt that this male rapist who identified as a woman at his trial,
Yeah, that would be hard. for
right,
me.
simply to get into a women's prison.
Yeah.
That's wrong, right?
Well, yes, but then that's once you're talking about something like rape, then obviously it becomes relevant. It's not
What
relevant.
about sport?
And I just want you guys to also note how Piers Morgan has this video posted on his YouTube channel and how Piers Morgan doesn't have to self-censor when saying the R word, like how everybody else has to self-censor. Pay very close attention to that. Him and Marianne Williamson can say the R word freely. And there's no effect on the channel, no effect on the viewability of the videos, nothing. Now, my question for you guys is, how does that work?
Well, on sports, I do think we need to protect girls who were born as girls. If they are in a situation where somebody, obviously because of the size of their muscles and of their body, gives them an
But that's all
unfair
biological
advantage.
males.
Well, yes, that's sort of my point.
So you would
But
stop, well, hang on, just to clarify that, you would stop biological males competing against biological females.
unless it can be proven, there are some situations where somebody, let's say they were born as a man, but they're a small man, right? And it can be proven through hormone testing, through muscle testing, and so forth, that there is no biological advantage. But you know, the other day I spoke at Cambridge University, and I noticed when I went into the area where the bathrooms were, that it said, use whatever bathroom you're more comfortable with. And I thought, oh my God, it could be that easy. So I think everybody needs to lighten up on this issue.
Well,
Because,
it's fine, except it's hard to lighten up if you are, say, a female Olympic athlete and you're losing out on your place.
well, that's
because a
right.
biological male who's 6'3" and built like an outhouse decides to take your slot
And I
by
think-
saying, hey, I'm a woman, which goes back to your initial thing that you should all be what you want to be. Well, sure, I want to be, you know, I want to be a movie star, but I'm not. There's a reality check.
if you're talking about specific instances, such as sports, such as where somebody goes in prison, et cetera, then obviously these become issues that have to be deciding points. But there is another world out there, which it's not hurting anybody. It just has to do with somebody's desire to identify a certain way, the area where we need to culturally.
So according to Marianne Williamson, these issues aren't hurting anybody. According to Marianne Williamson, these issues aren't hurting anybody. Now, my question is, do you all feel that these issues are hurting people? Shout out to my man, AB Promotions. What's good with it, bro? If you guys feel that these issues are hurting people, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't feel that they're hurting people, give me a thumbs down. Yeah, and I agree. Facts. Torian is absolutely right. She basically just said men can use women's restrooms. So when you get a politician like this that gets up here on Piers Morgan's show saying nonsense like what she's saying, that's how, but at the same time, trying to co-opt reparations, this right here is how you get a situation of how things get hijacked. That right there is exactly how things get hijacked. That's how these people get the pass to be able to lump anything that we have going on with woke. And everybody's okay with it because Democrats and Republicans both benefit from black politics being wrapped in with woke. So that way they never have to address anything. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. These people think that they're slick, but they're not.
Open our minds to the idea of fluidity in gender and so forth, and both can be true at the same time.
Well, I'm not sure it can, because I don't think you can have limitless self-identity without it infringing particularly on women's rights to equality and fairness. That's the problem with it. And that's why it sounds great to say, of course you can, but then you end up with that ridiculous woman, Rachel Dolezal, who decided to identify as black. Well, if you have limitless self-identity, why can't you?
You know, I think that somehow we have to find that balance in ourselves as well as our
But how,
society.
as a lawmaker who wants to be,
I mean, you don't really have to find that balance. There's this thing called DNA that kind of determines all of that. Genetics, codons. But again, we're at this point now where in this allegedly hyper advanced society where none of these things matter. Ironically, it's interesting how this works.
the first female president of the United States. What's the balance? Because you either allow it or you don't.
No, I disagree with you. As president, I think my responsibility is to the notion of all people created equal. I, as president, quite the opposite of what you just said. As president, hey, I want the whole notion of my presidency would be, please be who you want to be, do what you want to do, spread your wings and soar. If you get to the point where you're infringing on the rights of other people, you're going to have a hard time.
How would
with
you
me.
feel if a man?
So if these trans women are playing sports with biological women, let me ask you guys a question. Isn't that infringing on biological women's rights? So she says, spread your wings and soar as long as you're not infringing on other people's rights. But my question for everybody is, if biological women are having their sports divisions and organizations infiltrated by trans women, isn't that infringing on their rights?
A male politician decided to suddenly identify as female and became the first woman president of the United States.
I'd be like, damn, but that wouldn't mean.
You wouldn't just be damn. You'd be like, what?
I don't think.
You'd be horrified.
But that doesn't mean I think it would be illegal or that it's just.
I didn't say it'd be illegal. That's the whole point. The whole point, Madam Would-Be President, is it's perfectly legal.
I think, well, that's my
It's
point.
just wrong.
I don't even think it's wrong. It's just I think we'd all down a few glasses of wine that night. We wouldn't be real happy about it. But.
Yet she promotes this. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, she's looking at this and laughing at this like this is a joke. Now, I mean, you know, since these conversations are taking place here in the United States, if you ask me, America's a joke. But this particular subject matter is not a joke. We're literally living in a post-truth society where emotional attachments to nonsensical ideas are able to supersede proven scientific facts. Right. Right, exactly, Terrence. I don't know if I think it's wrong. Well, I don't know if I think you're qualified to be even running for the president, let alone a chance that you actually win.
Usain Bolt wants to run as a woman in the Olympic 100 meters. You going to allow it?
No, I believe that this thing with sports, we must protect those who, you know, when you see these girls who were born as girls and they have worked so hard,
Right.
you know, obviously, and I think most people see that.
Quickly about reparations.
Yes.
So we've had lots of debates on the show about this whole issue. I have to admit,
Well, look at this. We get a bonus. We get a bonus. Started out talking about gender. You see the title of the video. Piers Morgan debates gender identity with U.S. politician Marianne Williamson. And now the conversation divulges into reparations. Fascinating. Now, Piers Morgan isn't even from the United States. Piers Morgan is from the home of the Black Plague. Whatever.
I come from a position. I don't see why people today should be compensated for sins against their ancestors, some cases centuries ago.
In some cases in the 1960s, where there's still people alive today. So again, anytime you deal with this, white people are going to try to attempt to push the narrative that Jim Crow didn't happen. Shout out to Tory and Rain with the Black Massacre series. Many of those massacres, people are still alive today who survived them. But again, this is what you have when you have some moron from the UK attempting to recite American history, which, despite the fact that this stuff happened in America, for some reason, white people don't want to call this American history.
Explain to me why I'm wrong.
Because it's not just about you. It's about the responsibility that you have as a citizen to the fate of your country. And whether you are an individual or a nation, you're not.
No, that's not the right answer, Marianne Williamson. So pay very close attention to how Marianne Williamson managed to find a way to try to male-splain reparations.
going to have the future you want if you don't clean up the past. You know,
So should I,
Germany-
okay, but on that then, should I be claiming money back as someone in Britain from the Italians for what the Romans did, from the Normans for what they did, from the Vikings?
Are any of those civilizations still around today? It's crazy how they talk about people being around today, and the civilization that created the environment to where reparations are owed is still around today. And these people say, well, should I ask the Hun dynasty from 1519?
For their forebears now. Should I be claiming reparations from all of them? And if not, what's the difference?
I'll tell you what the difference is. There is no way that a modern Brit is being economically disadvantaged by something that the Vikings did. Well, I think it's been a long, long
You
time.
don't know. There might be people in the middle of Britain
No.
who are still suffering the
It is
appalling
very
financial injury of what the Romans did to their families.
Let me answer your question. It is very obvious that there has been intergenerational hardship financially.
Not even intergenerational. If we're talking about reparations, we're talking about Jim Crow. These white people are still alive today. What's that bitch's name? Carolyn Bryant. She just died. And not the way that she should have. But we'll just act like that didn't happen. Henrietta Lacks. The white medical apartheid system here in the United States stole her stem cells because of what the United States has created a culture of and how they've tried to make it where it's legal for non-black people to do whatever it is that they want to black people. The only way to deal with this kind of nonsense is not through politics, is to supersede politics and embrace villainy and utilize economics in order to instill consequences and make perpetual examples out of people. These kind of people say that we are perpetual victims. I propose something else. To create economic and industry tools that are strong enough for us to create our own perpetual victims, so that they can actually understand the difference between what a perpetual victim actually is versus somebody that has a grievance. Because clearly, the only way that these people understand anything is by demonstration and cramming.
The gap between blacks and whites that is so egregious in America today is a legacy not only of slavery, not only almost 250 years of slavery, but also of almost 100 years since then of institutionalized suppression of black people. This is 300.
But at what point do we stop feeling guilty about the past?
After we paid our debt.
Or paying for the past.
There's a difference.
But Marion, here's my point. It never stops.
Feel guilty after you're made to experience the same duration and same intensity of what we went through. That's when. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down.
Once you uncork that bottle,
You
you end up never stopping.
You need to let me talk. There's a difference between blame and responsibility. I don't feel I need to feel guilty. My parents came from Russia and Poland, my grandparents. So it's not about my grandparents. It's not about my feeling guilty. It is about my...
Marianne Williamson said that her parents came from Russia and Poland. That means that she's one of them folks. And I think that she made it obvious that she's one of them folks when she called Marcel Dixon an anti-Semite for no reason. So we already know what we're dealing with her. And that's one of the main reasons, if you ask me, that she needs to be detached from anything that has to do with reparations or anything that has to do with us at all. Go do a petition for an anti-Semitism bill. We got this.
My feeling responsible for the well-being of my nation. Germany paid over $89 billion to Jewish organizations after World War II. And I think that financial remuneration has had a lot to do with not only the financial, but even more importantly, the psychological and emotional healing between Germany and the Jews of Europe. And this is a healing that we have not had. That war was over in 1945. Ours was over in 1865, and we still take this toxic baton and we pass it generation to generation.
You make a good point. I need a one-word answer to this question to wrap things, okay? Should Donald Trump if he gets convicted of a federal crime and actually goes to prison, the Constitution says he can still be president of the United States. Should he be allowed to be?
It's not about the law is the law. Would it be disappointing? Would it be awful for the country? Yes, but if it's legal, it's legal.
Marianne Williamson, great to see you.
Thank you.
Best of luck
Great
with your
to see you
campaign.
too.
Great to
Thank
have you
you.
in London.
Now, here's my question. How do you all feel about that? What do you guys think about that? I think it was a poorly articulated shit show, if you ask me. Just like this. So when we ask how it is that these black politics get wrapped up with this quote unquote woke nonsense, here's one way. And this is one of the things that I tell people about. Pay very close attention to these churchy types. Pay very close attention to these pastors and preachers and false prophets. These Bible bumpers. Black religious leaders stand with our LGBTQ family. Now, here's my question for you guys. Who is our LGBTQ family? Does anybody know who these people are? Can somebody help me out with that? Who is our LGBTQ family? Who are these people? You guys know who they are? This is what this says. But I'm not exactly sure who these people might be. But this is what quote unquote black religious leaders say. Now, let me ask you all a question. When it comes to quote unquote black religious leaders, what political affiliation do they usually identify with? And I got to agree with Torian. They are doing this for attention and money. Big facts. If you guys agree with Torian, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I agree 100%. Black LGBTQ leaders have labored alongside us so that all black Americans could experience equality. Really? Well, I guess thank you, LGBTQ, for our black liberation, I guess. And I got to agree with Torian. None of this is genuine because it's Pride Month, and that is when they pander the most. Facts. Facts. So now here it says, for far too long, LGBTQ people have been subject to rampant discrimination. Anybody want to give me any examples of that rampant discrimination that these LGBTQ people have been victim to for far too long? Are we talking about the sports issue here? Or what are we talking about? Now change is within our grasp. Congress, look at this. Congress is considering the Equality Act, landmark legislation that would amend the Civil Rights Act to include LGBTQ people, thereby prohibiting discrimination in housing, employment, public accommodations, and much more. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? There's somebody somewhere rubbing their hands together like Birdman. And it's not anybody black. There's somebody back there rubbing their hands together like Birdman. Facts. Torian says they love to shoehorn themselves into our issues. Super facts. Now, here's my question. We need to come up with an effective repellent. Would you guys agree with me that we need to come up with an effective repellent? Now, let me ask you guys a question. What would be an effective repellent? Passed by the House, the bill faces an uphill battle in the U.S. Senate, in large part because of fears that the legislation would infringe on the freedoms of religious groups. Okay. Now, look at this. It's crucial for black faith leaders to stand with our LGBTQ family. Now, here's my question. What kind of faith do you have if you're standing over there? And this is what I'm talking about why religion is a grift. Religion is a hoax. These are the very people that read from a book that classify these acts in general as something that's not favorable. But it's the very people that preach from that book that claim that they're supposed to be standing with these people. So what I'm trying to figure out is, how does that make any sense? As Black religious leaders and activists ourselves, we know firsthand the power of the faith community to create profound change. They know how to beg for change too. We also know what we carry in our DNA. The legacy of liberation from oppression must help advance the freedom and equality for our LGBTQ siblings. Yeah, I don't agree with that. And if we're looking at DNA, we also need to look at the chromosomes. Torian said, who wrote this article? This article was written. Oh, well, you see that right there? This article was written by two people, Cornell West and Frederick A. Davey. Cornell West and Frederick A. Davey. Every day we must take steps toward the promise of liberation. The Equality Act is a necessary step on this most tedious journey we walk on towards freedom and justice for all. Now, I just saw this article on the side here, and we're gonna look at this article right here. Oh man, we're gonna look at this article right here. The Equality Act is a necessary step on this most tedious journey we walk on towards freedom and justice for all. Our LGBTQ siblings have God's imprint on their spirits. They are made in the image of God, fearfully and wonderfully made children of the Most Holy. Why would we deny them full rights and privileges of human dignity? Now, here's my question for you guys. What part of human dignity are these people not getting? That's what I want to know. That's what I'm curious about. That's the part that I don't really understand. What elements of human dignity are they not being allowed? As people who have seen the liberating power of God, oh Lord, we cannot withhold the same liberating power from the LGBTQ community by opposing legislation that would provide them with full, explicit, permanent, and equal protection under the law. Now, my question is, what protections are there that they don't get? Anytime I cover this kind of topic, these are the questions that I'm always asking. Torian said, Rob, have you noticed that most pride events look like Freaknik? Right. Cameron says, what does God say about LGBTQ? Well, I would say it, but I'd probably get the channel banned. But anybody can open up their Bible, for all the believers and Bible bumpers out there, and see what their Bible says. Ours is a legacy of that long journey towards liberation. So again, this is one of the reasons why they want to try to maintain Black people stuck in a struggle culture, so that they can attach all of these political objectives to anything that we have going on and try to shame people into helping with nonsense that's not going to benefit them. Let me ask you guys a question. How will your life be better from any of what's going on here? Ours is a legacy of that long journey towards liberation, and we have a duty. Look at this. We have a duty to hold hands with our LGBTQ siblings in their struggle for equality as we hold hands with God, pressing forward towards the promise of freedom. It is our obligation to resist attempts to further demonize and disinherit our LGBTQ siblings from this promise. Now, here's my question. Who's doing that? Who's out here doing that? What God has blessed, let no one tear asunder, and the LGBTQ community is surely blessed abundantly by God. Bringing LGBTQ people under the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is absolutely necessary. LGBTQ civil rights leaders have fought and died. Look at this. LGBTQ civil rights leaders have fought and died to ensure that the Black community would achieve these landmark protections and ensure that our community could live to fight our collective liberation. I'm going to read that again. LGBTQ civil rights leaders have fought and died to ensure that the Black community would achieve these landmark protections and ensure that our community could live to fight for our collective liberation. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you agree with that paragraph? If you all agree with that paragraph, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with that paragraph, then give me a thumbs down. Yeah. Super facts, RG Titan. RG Titan says they're trying to erase all of everything like our people didn't do anything. Super facts. Super facts. Bayard Rustin, James Baldwin, Audre Lorde, Marsha P. Johnson, Paula Murray, and so many other Black LGBTQ leaders labor tirelessly on this journey of ours so that Black folks in America could taste freedom, equality, and have their very being rooted in liberation. Let me ask you, were those people fighting against LGBTQ issues, or were they fighting against racism and white supremacy against Black people? Are you, man? Hey, yo, Torian, are you still in here? You need to do a video about this article, bro. You need to do a video about this article. I'm gonna put it I'm gonna put it on Twitter and tag you in it. Are we to say to them, our forefathers, to their mercy, their legacy, that the rights they sought on behalf of our whole community should not be available to them because of who they love and who they are? Are we to say to our ancestors, thank you for the struggle, but the fruits of your labor are not for you? Man, this is some manipulation at its finest. This is some manipulation at its finest. This is it. This is manipulation at its finest, y'all. Outright opposition to the civil rights for the LGBTQ community must not be tolerated. In particular, we must not bow down to so-called compromise legislation like the Fairness for All Act, which would institute modern-day Jim Crow laws that would hurt Black LGBTQ people more than anyone else. So now here's my question. What are they talking about here? What are they talking about here? It is an affront to the love ethic that we have inherited from our ancestors in the work towards equality and liberation. Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, that's old school, that's outdated. It's time to get with the program and embrace villainy. We must not and cannot compromise on equality, for any compromised equality is no equality at all. Creating a second tier of civil rights for LGBTQ people is to resurrect that old and wretched belief that people who are different from us must not have the same rights as us. The beloved of God must stand in, look at this, the beloved of God must stand in defense of our LGBTQ siblings that pursue their full civil rights protections and not use our differing theologies as an excuse to withhold God's children that which God has given freely. We are a people forged by the magnificent power of love, a love that liberates and compels us to share that liberation with everyone. No. That nonsense needs to have a nail in it. Those days are over. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you all are dedicated to making sure that that era of idiotic way of doing policy is dead? If you're with the business, give me a thumbs up. If you're not with the business, then give me a thumbs down. The essence of our faith is a commitment to that free love that sets free all those held captive by hatred, discrimination, and by dehumanization and disinheritance. The Equality Act is a foretaste of that promised land we journey towards, a promise rooted in liberation. Let us press onward then towards the promised land of liberation with our LGBTQ siblings. All right. Cornell, now look at this. Cornell West is the newly appointed Dietrich Bonhoeffer professor at Union Theological Seminary. The Reverend Frederick A. Davy is the executive vice president of Union Theological Seminary. The views expressed in this commentary do not necessarily reflect those of the Religion News Service. So the presidential candidate, Cornell West, is one of the co-authors on this article right here. So, you know, for people who are considering voting for him, you might want to consider what he wrote. So now here's what else has been going on. How many people have heard of this book called Holy Queer? If you guys have heard of the book called Holy Queer, give me a thumbs up. If you guys haven't heard of the book called Holy Queer, give me a thumbs down. And there we go. Look who wrote it. Look who wrote it. Where do they find these people at? This guy's name is Reverend Carmen Michael Smith. I focus on the Black church in my criticism because I love it. Holy Queer author seeks Black church inclusion beyond singing with choir. Terrace, you funny as hell. Definitely not a saint. Definitely doing some sinning, though. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if he did, Cameron. RG Titan says putting a black face on this crap to justify that it isn't about race. And they're putting a black face on it to justify that it isn't coming from their race. Which it absolutely is. You said Vince in that church smell like they blowing out fart clouds. That's nasty. You know what I'm saying? The Reverend Carmen Michael Smith wants to clean house, specifically what he sees as a lack of full openness by the Black church people like him. The author of the new book, Holy Queer, The Coming Out of Christ, he expects its title will attract attention, but he aims to create a better understanding of himself, a self-described queer Black man, and others like him who seek affirmation instead of rejection in Black church circles. My thing is start your own church. Start your own church. On Friday, February 24th, the day after the release of the book, Smith sounded similar themes as he co-hosted a symposium on the state of the Black church, reconciling communities and reimagining inclusion. Now, if you ask me, we're way too inclusive as it is. Way too inclusive. But according to this guy, people need to be more inclusive. I don't know how you can be much more inclusive. If you ask me, we're inclusive to a fault, and it's still not appreciated. So we need to embrace villainy and be against diversity just like how everybody else is, unless it benefits us with tangible, hardcore, provable benefits. And if it doesn't provide us benefits after we've agreed to do something, then there needs to be consequences. Every group of people in the United States, except for us, is anti-diversity. Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And if you ask me, the anti-diversity sentiments of a lot of these other groups is one of the reasons why a lot of these other groups stay doing good in the positions that they're doing. Torian said, I was away from the laptop when you told me about the article and what to do with it. This is insanity defined. Big facts. Big facts. This is ridiculous. He directs the seminary's Social Justice Center and leads its justice, equality, and inclusion initiatives. Okay. The God that we serve doesn't only bless one and let everybody else sit by and wonder why, he said in the opening remarks for the event co-hosted with Pride and Pews, an organization that supports Black LGBTQ Christians. And that same inclusive spirit is what we are seeking to have within the Black church and the Black community. What Black community is looking for that sort of inclusion? Right, exactly. Vote for Cornel West if you want to, but remember who wrote this article, or remember who wrote that first article. Facts. His critique of the Black church, its congregations, and its donations, Smith said in an interview that he hopes to link the story of Jesus leaving his tomb to a form of resurrection for both the Black community and the LGBTQ people in it, who are often talked to and about, but rarely listened to. I think everybody listens to those people. How can you not? I wanted to put flesh on the experience of what it's like to grow up in the Black church and be a part of this community that is marginalized and is a minority, said Smith, who is 44. But then you're a minority within a minority. So, I mean, my question is, where do these people get these bright ideas? Facts. If you guys agree with Torian, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Torian says, now they won't write no pieces like this to other groups, but expect us to leap like circus seals when brought to our doorsteps. Facts. And I'm going to tell you the first thing I'm going to do. I'm finna slam the door the same way I would do on a Jehovah's Witness and tell them not interested. Not interested. Don't come back either. Smith, an ordained non-denominational Christian minister, talked with Religion News about his holy queer theology, how growing up in the Black church influenced him, and whether he thinks Jesus is gay. This is just absurd. The interview has been edited for length and clarity. Now, I don't think we necessarily need to read the interview. I don't think we need to read the interview because it's ridiculous, but you see exactly where that's going. Now, shout out to Torian. We got Torian's favorite YouTuber on here, and her name is Amala Ekpanobi. She used to be known as the half-Black conservative. Torian says, Rob, were you in the chat when I discussed the Human Rights Campaign mentioning Juneteenth and how they should be a part of it? Wow. When you did your live stream? Nah, I missed that. Shout out to Jab Bad. Jab Bad said, what did I just click onto? You'll see in a minute. So now we got Amala Ekpunobi, and she's basically worshiping this woman, Riley Gaines. So let's check out what she's saying here. Hold on real quick. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, please make sure you guys take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, make sure that you guys hit the bell and share the stream to your social media. You got to, I don't know if you watched the first live stream on this channel, Jab Bad, but you got to check out the first live stream.
NCAA swimmer Riley Gaines delivers a mic drop moment defending women's rights at a recent Senate hearing. And you got to see it. Let's.
Now, how many subscribers do y'all think that Amala Ekpunobi has? Take a wild guess. I want y'all to get, I need some numbers in the comment section before we proceed. How many subscribers do you guys think that she has? Give me some numbers. RG Titan says about 500,000. Dorian said quite a bit. She's attracted to PragerU. Reserved Intelligence got it. Shout out to Reserved Intelligence. Torian got it more specifically. 1.3 million. 1.3 million. 1.3 million people want to hear what she has to say. So what I want you guys to understand is that white people pick the black voices that they want to hear. They pick the black voices that they want to hear. They need something to support the echo chamber. They want to live in a comfortable reality, believing that, you know, we can package all of this stuff up nicely and dog whistle and call these people all leftists and everything will just work out fine because that's what we say it'll do. No, that's not how it works. Torian says Amala is half Nigerian and half white, and guess what she leans to more? Facts. Yet she's got this, I don't know, I'm assuming this is a drawing, an AI rendering of Larry Elder back there. You know what I'm saying? She would me too, Larry Elder. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about it. Guys, before we get into this now viral video, please like and subscribe. I want as many people to find this channel as possible so you know what to do. Riley Gaines, you all know her as the now famous NCAA swimmer that has spoken out against Leah Thomas being able to compete against women. She's at a Senate hearing that is surrounding LGBTQ plus Americans. It's titled Protecting Pride, Defending the Civil Rights of LGBTQ plus Americans. Now, she testified before the Senate, which I imagine is a very nervous.
So again, I want you guys to understand how pivotal it is for people like the Manhattan Institute, people like PragerU, people like Turning Point USA, I mean, basically, you know, white Americans, to run this narrative that this LGBTQ stuff is consistent with anything that has to do with black people. It's imperative for them to run this narrative. They can't function without it politically.
Racking thing to do.
If it is to be said, I'm sorry. If it is to be said, so it is.
But she held her own, and especially in this clip.
You don't believe that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well,
So now this is one of the reasons why these people, they will find a woman like this person here, Mrs. Kelly Robinson, to say this outlandish nonsense, because for political purposes, these people have to put a black face on it because they are cowards. I'm going to tell you guys something. My channels could get to over 1 million subscribers each on every single channel, and these people would literally act like I don't exist. because it's always take the easy way out. None of these people will ever have a debate. None of these people will ever have a sit down or a conversation. They have to be able to do it with somebody who they feel that they can control. So they want to use somebody like this as the poster child for the degeneracy that the good Captain America white team is fighting against, to maintain the integrity of quote unquote American morals, which, as we all know, anybody that knows how the United States was formed knows that the American country, the American corporation, the American entity was formed on amorality, based on the definition of morality. I don't believe in morals or ethics. I believe that they're all subjective, but that's another conversation for another day.
Matt.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
What's your experience, Ben? Male, female?
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
I love Riley's just calm, cool, collected delivery of an outright fact that just
She loves Riley and wants to be Riley. Would you guys agree with that? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
completely demolish the argument that this woman is making. And for those of you who do not recognize this woman, she is the current sitting president of the Human Rights Campaign. And for those of you who don't know what the Human Rights Campaign is, it is a massive LGBTQ plus organization that claims to be continuing the fight for equality and is often at the...
Now, if you ask me, I think that we need to check out this Human Rights Coalition or whatever it is. We're going to check out this Human Rights Coalition or whatever they claim this thing is, because if I'm thinking what I'm thinking, I'm assuming that this Human Rights Campaign is some kind of Democrat think tank that specializes in hijacking black politics and merging them with LGBTQ issues to get them accomplished. Something like Justice Democrats. Yeah, Human Rights Campaign. Let's see what they got. They call it an advocacy group. Yeah, we're going to check this Human Rights Campaign out. We're going to definitely be drawing some content from this Human Rights Campaign for L.G.TV.
the front lines of the debate surrounding gender ideology, the transgender movement, and anything that has to do with the LGBTQ plus agenda here in the United States of America. So she's going up against the big dogs in front of the US Senate, and she held her own by simply stating facts. And what must be acknowledged is how confident Miss Kelly Robinson was. Kelly Robinson made the claim that
men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her.
Now, let me ask you all a question. Who made this lady right here? Kelly Robinson? Who made Kelly Robinson do any of this? That's my question. Who made Kelly Robinson do any of that? And my question is, do you all think that she actually believes this stuff? And the reason why I'm asking if you all think that she actually believes this stuff is because she refuses to answer basic questions that we know that she knows the answer to. I got to agree with Terrence. She believes in the agenda. She might be getting a paycheck from white liberals, but make no mistake, she's doing this because she wants to do it. Nobody has a gun to her head. Would you guys agree with me on that? No one has a gun to her head, and she's doing this because she believes in this. This is her worldview. This is what she sees for everybody.
And it's just not the case. She is stronger than that.
That's the words that you just heard her say. Even though Riley Gaines has evidence to the contrary, we all have evidence to the contrary. Karsten Brosch, I believe is how you pronounce his name, a German tennis player who was ranked 203rd among the men, defeated Venus and Serena both in the same day. So where, in fact, did Kelly Robinson get the knowledge that Venus and Serena could not be beat by a man, or that a man could not score a single point on them? Did she just assume that people were going to view what she said as factual because she comes from a position of authority by being the president of the Human Rights Campaign? I think that's exactly what happened here. Luckily, Riley Gaines was there to fact check her.
Oh, thank God.
She could have been fact checked in many different ways here, right? The senator asked her specifically, can you give me some examples? Let's talk about that time that the U.S. women's national team for soccer got beat by an under 15 boys squad. And if you want an even more recent example of that, we just had a U.S. women's soccer team of former national players just get completely wrecked by the Wrexham's men's team, which is also former male players in the sport of soccer. 12-0 in a 40-minute game. Is this to knock on women, or to say they're not strong, or to say they're not capable? Absolutely not. It's simply to acknowledge that there are differences between men and women. The beautiful thing that I think Riley said was talking about her relationship with her husband.
My husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well.
Yeah. Big facts, Torian. Super facts. She does that laugh exactly like Greg Foreman does. So now the thing that I find fascinating is that, like, white people watching PragerU and all this nonsense, it's amazing how they internalize this as some kind of gotcha moment for black people, because they stay in the echo chamber and don't realize that most black people don't support any of this. But it's easier for them to carry that narrative than to peek their heads out of their echo chamber. And again, because they're invested in it. Let me ask you guys a question. Are white people invested in believing that this has something to do with black people specifically? If you guys think that they are, give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that they aren't, then give me a thumbs down.
In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
So what do you think is going to happen when you allow somebody like Leah Thomas or any other biological man in any other female sport to go and compete against these women? We know it's not fair. We know it's not right. We know women are competing with a disadvantage. Why not simply acknowledge that? And for Kelly Robinson, the president of the Human Rights Campaign, acknowledging that objective reality.
So I didn't know that Kelly Robinson was the president of the Human Rights Campaign. So that must be how she got that Senate hearing. That must be how she got to sit at that Senate hearing.
And that objective fact does not stop your fight for trans rights. You don't have to completely abandon all objectivity and all reality in order to support the things that you support. You could still be the president of the Human Rights Campaign and sit there and go, you know what? I think it does need to be acknowledged that women deserve their own spaces and that women should be able to compete in a fair, even playing field game in whatever respective sport they decide to play in. But no, we refuse, because woke ideology is more important than the truth, even if it's hurting people.
So again, now you heard her say woke ideology is more important than the truth. Now, here's my question. How is this woke? And again, it's safe to assume that anytime these people mention woke, they're attempting to associate any of this nonsense with black people inherently. So my question is, I got a room full of black people here. I want to ask you all the question, how is this woke? Because this black lady was up here at this Senate meeting talking about it? How is this woke? Facts. If you guys agree with RG Titan, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Woke has absolutely nothing to do with this, Amala. Right. And that's the problem when you have somebody that's Nigerian and white attempting to co-opt a black American originated term. It's the same thing as if I decided to just start going around calling people pendejos. I'm not Spanish. I don't know all the uses of that word or what it means.
People like Riley Gaines, Paula Scanlon, who was a fellow competitor against Leah Thomas, or just all women across the United States who now have to compete against biological males.
So now this, if you ask me right here, this is sounding a lot like white feminism. Let me ask you guys a question. When it comes to this whole anti-LGBTQ narrative, the way that these people are talking about it, this sounds a lot like feminism. Margaret Sanger talk. Yeah. Facts. Cameron says the worst thing about it is that they have this moron looking smart. Facts. And that's because you have people debating against proven science. Like, everybody knows what a woman is and everybody knows what a man is. But again, and another thing is them trying to assign this kind of ideology to us. Mind you, again, this is the dominant society not only attempting to associate degeneracy with black people, but another thing that they're doing is attempting to animalize black people as well with the gender fluidity thing, because as we all know, there's some species of animals, in many cases amphibians and single cell organisms, that can spontaneously change sex in an environment where there's a deficiency of viable mates. So it's the same thing with the quote unquote BBC. Any of the backhanded compliments that these clowns have ever tried to come up with are all rooted in anti-blackness. You guys all know that the quote unquote stereotype of BBC has to do with how white people saw black men as animals, because animals have enlarged sex organs. So now they're attempting to attribute other animal characteristics to us, as in gender fluidity. Now, mind you, this is Democrats say that we support this. Republicans say that we support this. So the commonality within the theme is that both white political parties are attempting to force this identity onto black people. It's coming from the left and the right. It's not discriminate. It's both. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Who now have to have men in their bathrooms, who now have to get rid of words like mother and mom and replace them with things like birthing person, cisgender. This is the reality. And all because we refuse to accept what is true. So good job for Riley Gaines for going to the Senate hearing, for saying what is true, and for facing a lot of hate. Y'all know she's been assaulted before at speeches she's tried to do on this subject matter, for simply getting up and stating what we should all be able to acknowledge. So I want to leave this video out with this emotional message from Riley Gaines in another moment she had at her Senate hearing this week.
The NCAA forced me and my female swimmers to share a locker room with Thomas. A 6 foot.
Oh, here go to Karen tears. I know, birthing person, right? Hey, here go to pre-race massacre tears. I was going to my locker room and I looked up and Leah Thomas was there. Well, how do you describe Leah Thomas, ma'am? She was a big dark-skinned guy with tattoos all over and a giant beard. Let's go burn down Harlem.
6'4", 22-year-old male equipped with and exposing male genitalia. Let me be clear about this. We were not forewarned we would be sharing a locker room. No one asked for our consent, and we did not give our consent. And I'll set the scene. A swimming locker room is not a place of modesty. You're undressing, you're fully exposed, and we were forced to take off our swimsuit in front of a man who was doing the exact same thing. If nothing else, I truly hope how you can see this as a violation of our right to privacy, and how some of us have felt uncomfortable, embarrassed, and even traumatized by this experience.
This is the
fake tears, facts. Them are some performative tears. Jab Bad says they are participating in their own demise once ish hits the fan. Facts. I agree. Shout out to Carlton. Shout out to Carlton Way. They're participating in purifying themselves into oblivion.
Depending of the things we're talking about, it doesn't just have to do with, scoring goals at a soccer game or who wins. It has to do with women's spaces, women's privacy, women's safety. And Riley Gaines did not ask to be put in this situation, but certainly stepped up to the plate when it came to taking on this battle for women's rights.
For women.
I hope that this will be looked back on as a moment of true feminism, a woman who's actually.
I hope that. Now, isn't this interesting? Again, I want you guys to pay very close attention. Didn't I tell you guys I thought I smelled feminism? And you can tell if you've ever walked into a woman's bathroom, you can definitely, by accident, of course, not because you're dealing with these issues, you can just smell feminism all over the place. Didn't I tell you that this whole thing reeked of feminism? There you have it. Now, isn't it interesting to hear all of these right-wing people quoting feminism, right? Now, it's interesting. Margaret Sanger was a feminist, right? And we all know that Margaret Sanger was in favor of executing black babies. So would it be safe to say that feminism is inherently anti-black? Would that be a safe assumption to make? Carlton Way said they added an emoji of a pregnant man. You know what's crazy? Reality hasn't added a reality hasn't added an actual pregnant man yet, but the iPhone emoji updated before reality.
Feminism, a woman who's actually advocating for.
Now, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. Remember, these are the people that claim that they're against feminism. Woke mob, LGBTQ movement, PragerU, code word, black people is who they're talking about here. Woke mob.
For women.
I hope that this will be looked back on as a moment of true feminism.
I thought feminists were part of the woke mob. It's amazing how the grift changes things. Isn't it amazing how that grift works? They're making that grift work. Last time I checked, feminists were leftists. Let's get a consensus here. Are feminists leftists? If feminists are indeed leftists, then give me a thumbs up. If they're not, well, then by all means, let me know what side of the political aisle they're on today.
A woman who's actually advocating for other biological women and their personal rights and freedoms. Kudos to Riley Gaines, and I hope what was said at the Senate hearing wakes some people up. But as always, give me your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If so, put that in the comments down below. We always encourage healthy debate, so duke it out, but do so respectfully. And like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post.
We always encourage healthy debates. Basically, what she's saying is leave lots of comments under my video to push it more in the algorithm. Which, you know, nothing wrong with saying that. I encourage people to get to do that with my videos too. But more people engage with her videos than engage with mine, which is why she has 1.3 million subscribers and I got 199. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. The math is correct and so is the world. So let me ask you guys a question. How many people heard about this woman who was pressured into a breast removal at 13 under this quote unquote erroneous belief that she was a transgender? Did you all hear about that? There's been a lot of stories that have come out like this. Look at that. L.G.TV. Woman pressured into breast removal at 13 under erroneous belief that she was transgender. A California woman whose breasts were removed when she was 13 years old because she thought she was a transgender is now suing the doctors and the hospital that oversaw the procedure, claiming that they were in it for the money. Now, let me ask you guys a question. How do you feel about people going through these kind of surgeries and then they suing the hospital or the facility that they got this surgery from? Do you think that they should be able to do that? If you walk in the hospital asking for something, they give it to you, and then you're mad that you didn't get what you expected, then you get to sue them. Kayla Lovedoll, who is now 18, says that she was pushed to entertain the erroneous belief that she was a transgender at age 11 after being exposed to online influencers, according to the lawsuit she filed in California State Court against Kaiser Foundation Hospital and 4 doctors. Now, here's my question. Who forced her to be exposed to those online content creators? No, My question is, who put a gun to her head? Who put a gun to her head and made her do this surgery? No accountability whatsoever. She asked for this and she got it, and now she wants to sue the hospital. And she said that she got these ideas from online influencers. Online influencers. What kind of online influencers were you around watching when you were 11? A California woman whose breasts were removed when she was 13 years old because she thought she was a transgender is now suing the doctors and the hospital that oversaw the procedure, claiming that they were in it for money. Kayla Lovedow, who is now 18, said she was pushed to entertain the erroneous belief that she was a transgender at age 11 after being exposed to online influencers, according to the lawsuit she filed in the California state court against Kaiser Foundation hospitals and 4 doctors. Now, here's my question. Did those influencers put a gun to her head and make her do this or make her believe it? Yeah, I gotta agree. Carlton Way says, I blame her parents, and I put some blame on doctors. Facts. If you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. Cameron says, sue your parents. Facts. So much for those family values. So much for those great American family values that would allow their child to get chopped like that. I'll tell you one Rainbow that she wasn't watching. She wasn't watching Reading Rainbow. And there's somebody on Rumble they're just so angry. They're so upset. UPT True Breed says you're a piece of shit. I'm worse than a piece of shit. You're not even giving me enough credit. You're not even giving me enough credit. I'm worse than a piece of shit. I am your worst nightmare. That's what I am. They essentially handed Kayla the prescription pad and allowed her naive, emotional, childish roller coaster of feelings to dictate the so-called treatment that she would receive, according to the June 14th court papers. Not knowing what to do when their daughter claimed she was a boy, her parents sought out help from medical professionals who quickly affirmed the girl's idea that she was transgender, Lovedoll said. Now, let me ask you guys a question. If one of your children came to you with this dilemma, saying that they didn't know what gender they were or what sex they were, how would you all handle it? How would you all handle it? Would you all use these American family values that her family did? Or would you use common sense and actually sit down and have a talk with your child? Most people with common sense would probably sit down and have a talk with their child. Speaking of which, let's ask this question. How many people who are parents in here, children, have ever come to them not knowing what was going on with their gender? I think that should get looked at as well. I don't think that that's something that's very common. Not as common as many people would want you to believe. By the age of 12, she was on hormone blockers and testosterone without a proper psychological evaluation, Lovedow claims in the legal filing. So, again, how did this happen? And who's to say that she did what? Now, here's my question. What is a proper psychological evaluation for this? Is there a such thing as a proper psychological evaluation for this? What is a proper psychological evaluation for this? We got some LGBTQ people on Rumble. Up True Breed is trying to invitate himself to a grinder party. Lovedow underwent a single 75-minute transition evaluation, she alleged. So now, again, my question is, what is the criteria of what we're saying is a legitimate psychological assessment for this kind of thing? What is a legit psychological assessment for this? Nobody has the answer, just a bunch of nonsense. Just like with everything. Tori Rain said, "Rob got that Vincent Price laugh." Facts. I don't think my laugh is evil enough. So this is her. Now listen to this. It's better to have a live son than a dead daughter, the physicians allegedly told the family. So now my question is, why would the physician say that to the family? Why would a physician say something like that to the family? You True Breed or Up True Breed said Jesus is coming soon. Just like Santa Claus, right? Do you remember how I forget who it was? What's that lady's name? Megyn Kelly. Remember how Megyn Kelly said Santa Claus and Jesus are white? Deal with it. I got another deal with it for you. They're both fiction. The procedures were ideological and profit-driven medical abuse, Lovedow now maintains. She demonstrated at age 17 and now feels that doctors were negligent, calling her earlier belief that she was transgender mistaken. So now what? And if you ask me, this is one of the reasons why these kids at this age should not have decision-making in their healthcare. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Whose government, whose civilization decided to come up with the bright idea to allow these children to have power of attorney over their own healthcare when it comes to gender issues? Who was it that did that? In this advanced civilization that we live in. Up True Breed says, "Okay, bro, enjoy your time in hell. And trust me, I'll be in charge of the wing of hell that you get sentenced to. So I'll be seeing you." And I just got the feeling that you don't do real well with heat. Just keep that in mind. Shout out to So Simply Too Deep. What's good with it? Yeah. Now, if you listen to that Amanda Ekpanobi or whatever her name is, she'll tell you different. She'll tell you different. Kayla was not transgender and was not a person that any reasonable physician could ascertain would permanently maintain a transgender ideology, Lovedahl claims in the suit. Her mental health issues should have raised red flags for the doctor, Lovedahl said, pointing to medical studies that said she shows young girls' mental health is not often improved by transitioning. Okay. Day is going pretty good. I can't complain. I can't complain. Amala Ekpunobi. Amala Ekpupnobi. Facts. The vast majority of cross-gender identified children, if medically treated in early adolescence, risk getting the decision after they are old enough to realize their losses, Lovedahl said. Lovedahl additionally accused the hospital and doctors of not providing her and her parents proper informed consent, which would have included in-depth therapy, something she said never happened. So now here's my question. Why didn't her parents do anything about this? Are you talking about that Vince McMahon video? So Simply Too Deep? We kind of got lost in that Umar video on the last Reacts podcast, but when we do the next one, we're going to check it out. There was more stuff that we were supposed to talk about in that last Reacts podcast, but we ended up spending way too much time on that Umar video. Yeah, I got to agree. Her parents were definitely in on it. If you guys agree with Tori and that her parents were in on it, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down. The procedures were an insane form of child abuse. Lawyers for Lovedahl, who also uses the pseudonym Layla Jane, said in a statement. Now, if the procedures were an insane form of child abuse, my question is, what was it? What are we going to call allowing her to get it done? Because if that procedure was child abuse and her parents are the ones who brought her to that medical facility to get it done, then were her parents taking part in child abuse as well? If you guys feel that her parents were taking part in child abuse, give me a thumbs up. If you guys feel that they weren't, give me a thumbs down. So much for those family values. So Simply Too Deep says Umar is just a big fraud. No wonder why his school hasn't opened up yet. Facts. I agree. We believe cases like this are the best way to stop them, especially in liberal states like California, where reckless ideologues are pushing this radical agenda, said attorney Charles Lamarndi. Lovedahl, who is seeking unspecified damages, claims the procedures left her with deep physical and emotional wounds and severe regrets. Kaiser did not immediately respond to a request for comment. If you ask me, the people who do this kind of thing and then regret it are ruining themselves by the circumstances of privilege. So Simply Too Deep says, I say that parents who transition their children should be charged with child abuse. I agree. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And check the grift. Check the political grift. These people will first call these people liberals, right? They'll first call them liberals. And then once they regret it, then all of a sudden they're common sense Americans after they've screwed their child up. It's all a grift. These people have no values. They don't care about anything. Now, how many people heard about this drag march in New York City? If you guys heard about that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't hear about it, give me a thumbs down. Drag marchers spark outrage with "We're coming for your children" chant at New York City Pride event. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why would anybody chant "We're coming for your children"? Why would anybody do that? Let's listen. What do y'all notice about this picture? What do y'all notice about this video right off the rip? Let's look at it again. What do you all notice about this video right off the rip? And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, make sure you guys take a moment and smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell and subscribe to the channel, make sure that you guys hit the bell and subscribe to the channel. And please take a moment and share the video to your social media. Yeah, I agree with Torian. That's exactly what was going on there. That's exactly what was going on there. Overwhelmingly PC. An overwhelmingly PC event. LGBTQ activists participating in New York City's annual drag march on Friday sparked outrage for chanting "We are here, we are queer, we're coming for your children" in a Manhattan park. So now my question is, why would they chant that? Why would they chant that? What's the point of chanting something like that? What are they looking to do? What's the goal there? Yeah. Yeah, that's what they were saying. The marchers, many were wearing flamboyant dresses and clothing, walked through Tompkins Square Park in the East Village Friday night as part of the city's Pride Month celebrations. Video of the march shows people laughing and joining in with the cheeky chant, including one dancing topless woman. Others can be heard chanting, "We're here, we're queer, and we're not going shopping." The festive marchers continued and ended their march at the iconic Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village. The controversial chant incensed conservatives whom condemned the marchers as the video spread on social media. This movement grooms minors to have mastectomies and castrations and fuels a multi-billion-dollar medical child abuse industry, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted in response to the clip. Now, like I said, when Marjorie Taylor Greene is right, she's right. But most of the time, she's wrong. But she's right about that. She's a very dishonest politician. But when she's right, she's right. And I agree with that tweet. Now, if you go down her list and look at all her other tweets, she says a bunch of garbled idiocy. Passed to Protect the Children Innocent Act, Let the Kids Be Kid, the conservative firebrand added, referencing a bill in Congress that would make it a felony to perform any gender-affirming care on a minor. Attorney Jenna Ellis, who briefly was a member of former President Donald Trump's legal team, tweeted, "Remember that thing they said they were totally not doing? This is what evil looks like," said conservative podcaster Graham Allen. So now this is one of the reasons why, another reason why white people, white liberals, as well as white Republicans want to attempt to brand black people along with LGBTQ, because it makes it that much easier to just say things like this is evil and attribute it to us. And as you can see, that's exactly what they believe. Up True Breed on Rumble says because they are evil, just like you. So again, it goes hand in hand with the ideology. These people can't separate. They believe that black people are inherently evil. Anything that they do, despite the fact that white men have the largest infection rate of monkeypox as an indicator of LGBTQ intercourse and participation, they'll supersede fact to gaslight their post-truth reality. And if you think my content is evil, your imagination probably couldn't even fathom what I'd do to you in real life. Many online users pointed out that the chant was more than likely a joke in response to accusations of pedophilia among the drag community from the right. Now, again, I want you to see and pay close attention to how these people are making such egregious chants, talking about we're coming for your children, and then turning around and saying that it's a joke. Has anybody ever seen that tactic before? We'll say the most egregious thing and then say, oh, we were just joking. It was just a joke. So shout out to the high IQ crowd on Rumble, right? I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to see this so that you can get a laugh, so that you can get a good laugh. You about to die laughing. You about to die laughing. Are you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready for this? Now, if you look right here at this comment from Up True Breed says, do you agree with teaching kids this stuff? Shout out to Carla Lockhart. That person said, do you agree with teaching kids this stuff? You can't make it up. You can't make it up. So now what we have is a maggot acting like they can't understand English, which is the language that they herald as so great. Do you agree with this stuff? Now, mind you, about 15 minutes ago, that same individual said bye, but yet and still, they're still here. And as 15 minutes has passed, this individual hasn't comprehended whether we agree with this stuff versus whether we don't. And this is what I'm telling you about how it doesn't matter what's said. It doesn't matter what facts are. It doesn't matter what a past 2 hours of content has said. These people cannot comprehend anything aside from what it is that they want to see, which is one of the reasons why the conversation should be superseded at all times anyway. My case in point. Case in point. So now here it says, the intention is to provoke, said one user who disagreed. Sadly, this will continue to determine the view of the gay community who fought so hard to be accepted. This is not accepted, another wrote. New York City will cap off its Pride Month celebrations with its massive annual parade on Sunday to commemorate the 1969 Stonewall riots, a pivotal moment in the American LGBTQ community's history. So I guess when they were talking about riots in that article yesterday, the 1969 Stonewall riots is what they're talking about. And if I'm not mistaken, I know Ryan Kinnell gets upset, but from what I understand, there was a black person who was involved in that Stonewall riot that was actually race swapped in a Netflix special or something like that. Torian be paying attention to that kind of stuff. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. Vanderbilt turns over transgender patient records to state AG for investigation. Now, what do you think happened here? This guy is doing conservative babble. Anybody that's beyond him, he's calling the P word. Emotional. Did you grow up with two mothers? Are you one of these people? Is that why this story is triggering you, my guy? Did you grow up with two moms? Didn't have any masculinity in your life? This is what white people do. When they don't agree with you, they call you the P word or the N word, whichever one comes first, depending on how the relay of their brain is working that day. Vanderbilt turns over transgender patient records to state AG for investigation. Vanderbilt Medical Center handed over medical records of transgender patients to the Tennessee Attorney General's office, a spokesperson for the center confirmed on Tuesday. John Hauser, chief communications officer for the health facility, said in a statement to The Hill that Vanderbilt received requests from the state attorneys general about transgender care at VUMC. Hauser noted that the VUMC complies with all healthcare privacy and security requirements under state and federal law, including the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which is HIPAA. So now here's my question. Why would they be turning that over? Simply Too Deep has a hypothetical question that I need you guys to answer for me in the comment section. Hypothetical question. How would you handle this scenario? Somebody stumbles upon you and your significant other at the wrong time at some secluded area. In most cases, with me, that probably wouldn't happen. That probably wouldn't happen. Because I don't really be doing stuff all like that in the public. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I try not to go out in public too much. There's nothing out there but a bunch of idiots and places to spend your money at. And people who want to be outraged for no reason. You know what I'm saying? VUMC received requests from the Office of Tennessee Attorney General as a part of its investigation seeking information about transgender care at VUMC. The Tennessee Attorney General has legal authority in an investigation to require that VUMC provide complete copies of patient medical records that are relevant to its investigation. VUMC was obligated to comply and did so, Hauser said in an emailed statement. Now, my question is, why are they being investigated? Yeah, I agree. Some stuff is definitely not worth you spending money on. The Nashville Tennessean, and we could check this out, first reported Vanderbilt handing over the medical records. A notice issued to patients of the center and obtained by the Tennessean said that the facility was turning over records due to an investigation into billing for transgender care services that were provided to those who were enrolled in insurance plans sponsored by the state. The newspaper also reported that Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti's office was looking into possible medical billing fraud at the health facility. Brandon Smith, chief of staff to Skrmetti, told the Tennessean that the office was surprised that VUMC has deliberately chosen to frighten its patients like this. Smith noted to the newspaper that the investigation was focused solely on VUMC, not the patients at the facility. Officials at Vanderbilt announced this past fall that they were pausing gender-affirming surgeries for minors to review their practices after facing criticism from lawmakers and state officials. Republican Governor Bill Lee signed a measure banning gender-affirming health care for those under 18 in March, a move that prompted LGBTQ rights groups to sue the state of Tennessee for it. All right. So now let me ask you all a question. Do you all believe that gender affirming surgery should be legal for people under 18? If you all feel that it should, give me a thumbs up. If you all feel that it shouldn't, then give me a thumbs down. Let me know what you think. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't smashed the like button, make sure you guys smash the like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, make sure you guys hit the bell, and please share the stream to your social media. I got to agree with Lehman Lucas. If you guys agree with Lehman Lucas, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Yeah, facts, Val. I agree. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of a debate. All right. And I've reacted to these videos before. It's a debate between Blair White and Destiny. All right. So now, how many people are familiar with Blair White and how many people are familiar with Destiny? I think everybody is familiar with these two. I've reacted to Blair White before, and I've reacted to Destiny before. So now this debate is about trans kids, conservative boycotts, and LGBTQ rights. So again, my question for you guys is, what rights are there that LGBTQ people don't have? What are the rights that they don't have? It seems like nobody's able to answer that question when the question is asked. So let's check this out and see what they're talking about real quick.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am joined by, not to use this word in an incendiary way, but a quite infamous streamer on the internet, Destiny. You've been doing this before we went live, you said, for 13 years, which is crazy to me. I'm at a 7, and sometimes I feel like I'm gonna have like a mental breakdown from it.
Yeah. I mean, infamous works, far leftist works, establishment show works. Like, I take it all. So
Yeah. So the reason I reached out to you, I reached out to do this because I felt as though the number of people on the internet, especially like commentators and people who do politics for a living, like you and I, that are interested in having productive conversations about the trans issue in particular, the number of people willing to do that is just going down and down and down. And I feel like things have reached such a fever pitch that I only really want to talk.
Now, I don't think that the number is going down and down and down. I disagree with that. When it comes to dealing with most of these people are intimidated, these people are scared, these people are fearful, and these people are dedicated and invested in their narrative, and they need a narrative. These people are horrified. They're terrified to have debates with other people. Let me ask you guys a question. Now Destiny is somebody who would debate anybody, but any of these other people, do you think that any of these other people will pull up on my channel or TD Hip Hop Media's channel or the Black Authorities channel and have a debate? No. You think they'll pull up on Torian's channel? No. What they'll do is they'll pull up on somebody like Dr. Rashad Ritchie. They'll pull up on somebody like Mark Lamoist Hill. They'll pull up on somebody like Joy Reid. And then they'll turn around and say that those people equal black people. That's what they'll do. But they won't pull up and come try to rock with us on a debate on this. Ever. Mark my words.
Talk to people where I feel like the conversation is going to be at least oriented in the direction of solutions to problems rather than just scoring points. So maybe it won't go that way. Maybe it'll get heated and it won't be so productive, but I'm at least aiming for that.
Sure.
Yeah. So what's your mindset going into this? Do you think we're going to be like screaming, or what do you think?
Well, we've got lots of no, not really. I think we've like briefly crossed paths a few times in the past. We probably disagree on probably a lot of things politically, but obviously you're in an interesting spot being trans and conservative, given that your identity has been at the forefront of conservative politics for like the past like 2 years now, because it seems like nobody in the country wants to talk about anything else. It feels like there's two phenomena happening at the same time that are contradictory. One is that we're becoming more different than ever, and two is we're becoming more of the same. We have like these two political groups in the United States, and they are pulling apart at rapid pace, but as they pull apart, both groups become like more dogmatic in their beliefs. So
what do you all think about that? Do you all agree with what Destiny said? If you ask me, both political groups are the exact same entity. And there's a reason why both political groups are the exact same entity. And that reason of why both political groups are the exact same entity goes shamefully unspoken between both groups. That's one of the ways that you can have these people acting as if they're outraged and having all of these issues with this gender stuff and culture nonsense. And then both parties turn around and sign the LGBTQ marriage bill because the entire thing is a grift. Both political parties are invested in maintaining a bottom floor of the United States. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. But now these two will never speak it.
So as we stop having like conversations with each other, like the left is now saying that like my 4-year-olds can identify as trans, and people on the right are like trying to fight to take trans healthcare away from adults. And yeah, the conversations have just become absolutely insane now. And nobody seems to be wanting to work towards any type of middle ground solution. Yeah.
Why is any of this even a conversation? See, that's for one, that's where this conversation should start off. Why is any of this even a conversation? The fact that people don't see it problematic that this entire thing exists as a conversation is bad enough. But we'll just continue to act like we have no idea what's going on.
Right. And I'm coming at it from the perspective of like having done politics with like a major focus on trans issues for the past 7 years. The way in which the entire discourse has like taken shape is like insane. Cause like you said, the fact that it's one of the, if not the like premier political football as of now, when it is such a tiny population, is really insane. I mean, it makes sense because there's so many different trickle down effects from trans in general, because it affects really every area of life. You know, it affects, you know, bathrooms and school and medicine and all that. So it makes sense. But the overexposure, I feel like, has just made things so hostile. Let's add some structure to this, because I do have some topics kind of laid out that I want to go through, some of which I feel like we're going to have middle ground on, and some we're probably going to bat heads on, but that's fine.
Sure.
So I wanted to start with, first of all, why I even reached out to you was I saw you on one of these really super cringe red pill dating podcasts that I tend to lately have a habit of like getting high in bed and watching and just like losing my mind based on how insanely dumb so many people on them are. But the trans bathroom debates started happening on one of those, which
she got to be talking about whatever podcast, the podcast that has 4 million subscribers for no reason. You guys think she's talking about whatever podcast? If you guys think so, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't, then give me a thumbs down and let me know what she's talking about. She could be talking about Fresh and Fit too.
I was like, why is that even happening on a dating podcast? But okay.
But so, for instance, let's say that I'm a
It's
traditional
whatever.
father and I'm going to take my boy to the bathroom. Okay, let's say 6 years old, and then Blair White comes walking into the bathroom.
Do you want Blair White walking into the bathroom with like a little boy?
So I want you guys to understand this, right? Do you all see how they embed the politics into the dating content? Now, let me ask you this question. Is that an accident? Or is that propaganda? And see, people ask me why I do reaction videos to this kind of stuff and why I cover this kind of stuff. Keep asking.
Okay.
And you brought me up, and that led me to looking at some of your other positions on trans, some of your other content, because admittedly, no offense, I haven't watched a ton of your stuff, but I looked at some of your trans videos, and we actually have like some things in common, particularly with trans sports. So my audience, probably who might have a little bit of a predisposition to think that you're wrong on everything on this topic, probably would like to know that you actually are pretty moderate on like trans women competing in women's sports, which my position is I'm against it, and yours seems to be as well, right?
Yeah, I'll carve out the caveat that like there's probably a place for well, this gets into another very contentious issue, but if trans people are going to compete with sports for the gender or sex that they transition to, however you want to view that, I think that the transition has to happen pre-puberty. I think that the advantages that you gain during puberty, going through a male puberty, probably disqualifies you from fairly competing in any female sports, is what I would say.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. You know, I'm wholly against like people who went through male puberty competing, but in my mind, I can't think of a reason necessarily, even though I disagree with children transitioning, which we're going to get to. I can't think of a reason why, if you haven't gone through that puberty, you're at such a disproportionate advantage that supersedes like the natural sort of like disadvantages and advantages that people with.
Now, one thing that you should pay attention to and that you should get out of this is that both of these, now you're looking at a liberal and you're looking at a conservative, and both of these people are in favor of allowing trans to participate in the gender sport that they transition to. They just put age restrictions on it. Pre-adolescent hormone therapy should be able to qualify according to these two, which means that they believe the same thing. And we're talking about a liberal and a conservative. This is the grift right here. This is the gender hustle. This is the gender baiting. This is the grift that these people don't want to acknowledge, that they're just political hustlers. Putting different faces on this kind of thing. Making content, generating billions of dollars. It should be real easy for people to see exactly what's going on here. But again, we have these Democrat politicians that latch themselves onto things that we have going on and just make it that much easier for these clowns to run with these nonsensical narratives. I gotta agree with Jab Bad. These people are sick, and that's why their kids act like how they act. Facts. If you guys agree with Jab Bad, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Within that sex would actually have. Like there's Serena Williams, and then there's like, I don't know, like Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah. I think also, like, and again, like, why do they keep using Serena Williams? I want y'all to pay attention to that they keep doing that. They keep using Serena Williams. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why do you think that they keep using Serena Williams as an example? Val Williams said, I saw a short of a trans woman said that they regretted their surgery. The body sees the opening as a wound, constantly ripping open itself. Inflicted wound for the rest of your life is crazy. Yeah, that's wild. That is wild.
So, I think a really good litmus test for a lot of trans issues too, and nobody seems to ever bring this up, but like think about trans men. So for instance, if you think that trans women should be able to compete with cisgender women or normal women or whatever you want to call them, non-trans women, cis women, what about trans men? Because trans men will never be competitive with cis men. A person that's gone through a female puberty and then competes against men, except for like in trap shooting or whatever, that wasn't supposed to be, sorry, but like there's like there are some sports where you can compete. I think like guns, trap shooting, I think is one of them. I think distance running might be another one. But for the most part, trans men will never be competitive with cis men in any of those categories. So yeah, like if you try to think like, well, what if trans men did this? I think of the same thing for bathrooms as well. That's why I always go to people like, I don't want trans people in our bathrooms. It's bad for our daughters or whatever. It's like, okay, well, do you want Buck Angel going to the bathroom with your daughter, right? You probably lose your mind if you saw that, So yeah, I think that the trans sports thing, I think people have kind of lost their head on a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that in general, there's just like levels to all of this, right? It's like sometimes
I gotta agree. That's the ongoing narrative that the Republicans and the Democrats are trying to use as they keep bringing up Serena Williams. They're trying to make that dog whistle saying that black women are masculine. Black people reproduce too much. Black men have too much testosterone. Black women are too fertile. Low impulse control, low IQ, conservative talking points. Because let's just make sure that we are in agreement here. Would you guys agree that your basic racist anti-black talking points are equivalent to conservative talking points? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
I feel like valid concerns get bunched in with less than valid concerns. It's like, so, and even within those concerns, there's levels to it. So there's a difference between like the Walmart bathroom and like a high school bathroom.
Facts, super facts. They are trying to be smart with Serena, insinuating that she's strong as a man. Facts. They're using a backhanded compliment to attempt to slight her while not saying it openly, which is what they do all the time. Because again, when you're dealing with coward culture, that's what happens.
Bathroom. There's a difference between a high school bathroom and like a locker room, and there's a difference between like a spa, so all of these things have different layers. For example, it's like I don't see as much of an issue with, obviously, trans people who have made a medical transition using public bathrooms. I see a much larger issue when it comes to locker rooms. Like I go to a spa here in my city, and I when I go, I'm aware that I look like a woman. I've made a medical transition, and to most people, they don't clock me when I'm out. However, I don't go in the like locker room area. I would never want to be, you know, the source of discomfort for any woman. And I think that that's like different than like someone who would really look at me and be like, in Walmart, you should not go to, not that I shop at Walmart, you should not be using the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, then now we'll get into Target as well.
Okay, yeah.
There's just so much.
The frustrating is like what you say
Yeah.
that is the majority opinion of like 99% of trans people, or every single trans person I've talked to in real life. I've never met a trans person like, no, even though I clearly don't pass, I want to go use the bathroom that I identify with, and I want to have a huge fucking fight over like 99% of trans people I know in real life. No, I'm sorry, everyone I know in real life, the internet, Twitter people get different. Are just like, I want to go into the place that I look like. Most people aren't going to clock me. Most people don't give a fuck. Like I just want to pass, do my thing, be invisible, and like live my life as a normal person.
You're not living your life as a normal person at all if you're living your life where you're deceiving people. Deception isn't equivalent to normalcy. But what I want you guys to pay attention to is pay attention to how these people are making excuses. And again, we got a conservative, which is Blair White, and we got a liberal, which is Destiny. And pay very close attention to how on the same side of things that they are. You want to know what else? I bet you they're on the same side of things about reparations.
And these like weird esoteric fights over like, I am a 350-pound burly man who identifies as a woman and wants to go to the women's bathroom. It is like such an online issue. And by the way, I don't think that it's bad to talk about that. But like, one, the left needs to stop defending those people because there's no fucking point in doing it. It makes it look crazy. And then two, the right needs to stop pretending that every single trans person is like that.
Now, here's the question. We all know who the right is. Who is the left? Do you notice how when these people just throw out, oh, the left, you guys remember when just Pearly Thing was like, oh, the left. Okay, who is the left? We're just going to call it what it is. Anytime these people just throw out the left arbitrarily, that is a dog whistle for black people. Because notice how there's never anybody that they list as an individual person when they're talking about quote unquote the left. They never called Joe Biden the left, which is interesting. Have you guys ever noticed that when discussing Joe Biden or talking about Joe Biden, these people never call Joe Biden the left. They call Joe Biden Joe Biden. Or they call him Brandon, but they never call him the left, which is interesting because he's a leftist politician. So now the question that we need to ask is, why don't these individuals identify Joe Biden as somebody, quote unquote, on the left? Why don't they do that?
I get so many trans people that email me who are so irritated when they watch these fights. Like, bro, like, I don't want to fight about when I go to the bathroom. If I look like a man, and trans people know what they look like, probably more than most people do, because they obsess over how they appear and the dysphoria and everything too. They know what they look like. They know what bathroom they identify when they go into, and they don't want to have like a huge fucking public fight over their identity anytime that, you know, have to take a piss in public. So yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I think that begs the question of self-ID, which is something that it seems as if most leftists either intentionally or unintentionally find themselves defending at all costs, which I have an issue with because there's really no other area of life that I can think of where someone is able to just say, I am, therefore you have to take me on my word other than that. And I think that is where women start to feel very uncomfortable because, yeah, I mean, we can talk about like the viral TikToks and like I've reacted to them on my channel where it's like just like a dude with like a fucking beard and he's like in the woman's bathroom like screaming, and it's like that shit is like on one.
So again, just I want you guys to remember, look at all of the advocates, right? That Human Rights Watch president, she's advocating for this guy right here. But now they didn't get this individual right here to go in front of a Senate meeting. They got that president of the Human Rights Watch to go in front of the Senate meeting. Now, my question is why? See, now we're getting into the actual issues of all of this. Now we're getting into the actual issues of all of this. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to the people that are watching on YouTube. We got 16 live viewers watching on YouTube. If you guys haven't hit the bell, make sure you guys hit the bell and hit that like button as well. Also, please share the stream to your social media. And we have 4 people watching on Rumble. Shout out to the 4 people watching on Rumble. And we have 4 likes. If you guys haven't smashed that like button, make sure you guys smash that like button. Let's try to get it to 10 likes and share the stream out to your social media.
One level, just a really bad look, but then also it becomes an even worse look when the entirety of the right obviously is going to attack that person and say you don't belong in that bathroom.
Yeah, that's big facts. That's big facts, Val. It's code for our community. Most black people are socially conservative and don't agree with this BS. I agree. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. It's beneficial for the white right and the white left to lump black people in with liberalism and leftivism. It's beneficial for both. They're both breaking bread on that political grift.
And then I would say the overwhelming majority of the left is maybe not going to defend the fact that that person looks like a woman or whatever, but will defend like their ability to be in that bathroom. And as someone who, I often say this, I started my transition almost a decade ago. So not that I will ever claim to understand the biological woman experience. There are obviously some levels of socialization that I've experienced and that I continue to experience walking through society being perceived as one. And I completely, as I get older, my empathy only grows for women who look at that kind of stuff and they're like, why would I ever think it's okay to be in an enclosed space with this person?
Sure.
So I think there's just like nuance. And I do wish, especially because people on the left purport to be the people that are fighting for me, maybe not specifically Blair White, since I'm so hated in those circles, but trans women, trans men, I find that they do way more harm than good when they find themselves defending that kind of shit, because anyone of sound mind is going to look at it and be like, that's demented.
Yeah, this was a phenomenon that I spent a long time thinking about because I'm trying to figure out like why are these hyper niche issues? So like a 4-year-old, a person saying my 4-year-old is trans, right? How do these blow up into such huge issues? And the immediate temptation is first you want to blame the actual.
Wait, what did he just say? Hold on real quick.
It only grows for women who look at that kind of stuff and they're like, why would I ever think it's okay to be in an enclosed space with this person?
Sure.
So I think there's just like nuance. And I do wish, especially because people on the left purport to be the people that are fighting for me, maybe not specifically Blair White, since I'm so hated in those circles, but trans women, trans men, I find that they do way more harm than good when they find themselves defending that kind of shit, because anyone of sound mind is going to look at it and be like, that's demented.
Yeah, this was a phenomenon that I spent a long time thinking about because I'm trying to figure out like why are these hyper niche issues? So like a 4-year-old, a person saying my 4-year-old is trans, right? How do these blow up into such huge issues? And the immediate temptation is first you want to blame the actual person who is doing it because it's like, what the fuck? But then you realize like, okay, well, there's always going to be a few crazy people. So I can't blame the person because there's always some stupid idiot. So then I want to kind of blame conservatives because like, okay, well, you guys are the ones blowing the story up so much. And then I'm thinking, well, why are conservatives able to blow it up so much? And then when I look at the left, it's like, okay, now I understand. The reason why conservatives can blow the story up so much is because so many people on the left are willing to defend it, right?
Yeah.
If you're just willing to say that, like, listen, we probably like if conservatives like, oh, you want to
now let me ask you guys a question: Is there a big bag in people quote unquote being willing to defend this? Is there a big bag? Is there a lot of money that people can get from this gender grift? If you ask me, there is. And that's one of the reasons why there's so many people who are fake invested in this. That's one of the reasons why there's so many people that's fake invested in this.
destroy women's spaces with trans people? Okay, no, probably not. Trans women probably shouldn't compete with cis women in sports. If you can just say that and drop it, the other side looks insane to keep harping on it over and over and over again. But the reason why them harping on it works so well is because people on the left, even if they're the most fringiest minority positions ever.
Yeah, me too, Carla. Or I'm sorry, me too, Carla. Me too, Val. Facts. I was angry with the black witness who wouldn't answer a single question for the Senate about trans women competing against real women. Facts. This channel is going to be solely about that kind of content, and there is so much of it online, so many examples of that kind of idiocy taking place where Republicans and Democrats are benefiting off of this political grift that we need to be able to expose it, and we need to be able to detach from it. These are some of the things that I have been saying. These are some of the things that I've been saying. Now, let's just keep it a buck. I thought that we were going to be able to watch this debate, but man, this is just boring. It's very boring. You know what I'm saying? Very, very boring. Destiny and Blair White, y'all got to do better. In Arkansas, a federal judge blocked gender-affirming care in the first ban in the nation. Again, if you ask me, these are conversations that in an advanced society we should not even be having at this point. We shouldn't even be having these conversations at this point. A federal judge on Tuesday struck down an Arkansas law that sought to ban gender-affirming health care for transitioning minors, siding with 4 transgender children, their families, and 2 doctors who challenged the state's first in the nation ban in a 2001 lawsuit. So what ended up happening here is that in this particular situation, there was a ban, okay? In Arkansas, there was a ban on gender-affirming care, I believe, for minors. The federal judge struck it down. Me personally, I just want to ask everybody that's watching this video, again, my kids, in my experience of being a parent, I know to the people on Rumble, I know you idiots don't think that black people are parents or parent our kids, but we do. In my experience as a parent, my children have never expressed any kind of gender confusion. Ever. And at the schools that my kids go to, they deal with these kind of books and all this stuff being forced on them, which I'm not happy about. But even if you take the books out of the school, they still get this stuff forced on them in regular TV programming, on the cartoons and everything else. And you can't take all of your kids' socialization away from them. But there's trans kids that go to my kids' school. With all of that going on, they're still not confused. So my question is that what is you guys' experience with children expressing quote unquote gender confusion? Have you all dealt with that? I've never dealt with it before. I'm pretty sure as a child, I knew that I was a male. I don't think I ever expressed any gender confusion to my parents as a child. So this is a phenomenon that I don't even understand. But what I think is interesting about it is the people that experience it. The people that experience it are not the people that they put as the face of it, which is something that I find interesting. U.S. District Judge Jay Moody on Tuesday issued a permanent injunction against the Arkansas law, which would have prohibited healthcare providers in the state from administering puberty blockers, hormone replacement therapy, and surgeries to transgender youth under 18. So yeah, this was a block on transition therapy for minors. Now, here's my question. When it comes to all of this stuff, what's up with parental consent? In these situations, are they just bypassing parental consent? Because that's problematic, right? One could say that's problematic if we're just bypassing parental consent. In his order, Moody wrote that the law, which he temporarily blocked in 2021, violated the constitutional rights of transgender young people and their families and would cause immediate and irreparable harm if it were to go into effect. Now, here's my question. What immediate and irreparable harm would have been caused? Shout out to Torian. Torian said, check what I sent your DM on Twitter. Goes right along with what you're talking about now. Remember what I said about Freaknik for Pride events? Oh my goodness, I could only imagine. Let me go see real quick. I could only imagine. And I'm telling you, on Twitter be going ham with these little videos they be oh, see, I can't even play this on YouTube. This is wild. Oh, this is what I'm about to do real quick. Hold on. Man, that's crazy. Hold on real quick. When it comes to posting this kind of stuff on Twitter, there's no bounds to what they'll post on Twitter. Shout out to my man KO Kid Fit, L.G.TV. Yo, look, check this out. L.G.TV exclusive. L.G.TV exclusive, thanks to Torian Rain. Shout out to Torian Rain. Here, I'm gonna post it on Rumble too. Look at this insanity right here. Torian says, describe what you saw on here since you can't show it. I don't even know how to describe that. I don't even know what to describe that at. I've never seen it. You know what it looks like? It looks like a bunch of those Greek statues dancing around in a public fountain with thongs. That's what it looks like. It looks like statues of Zeus. Statues of Zeus and Athena, mainly a bunch of Zeuses dancing around with thongs on in a public fountain. You know what I'm saying? It's insanity. The act also discriminates against transgender people. Now, can somebody explain to me how this act discriminates against transgender people? And now, YouTube manual reviewers shouldn't really get upset for somebody simply asking the question, how does this violate somebody's rights? Because we're asking a question. The law prohibits medical care that only transgender choose to undergo, i.e. medical surgical procedures related to gender transition. Okay. Arkansas in 2021 passed the nation's first law restricting gender-affirming health care for transgenders youths. It was vetoed by then Governor Asa Hutchinson, who in April announced his bid for White House, but it became law after the state's GOP-controlled legislature decided to override Hutchinson's veto. So again, I want you guys to pay very close attention to the bipartisan grift. Val says she saw it and her eyes are burning. Facts, Carla. Weirdos. Straight up weird. Y'all weird. Wed. You know what I'm saying? Wed. like they say in New York, weird. You weird, yo. So this governor here, Asa Hutchinson, vetoed it. Now, the state's GOP-controlled legislator overrode Hutchinson's veto. So the GOP is responsible for putting this law in place. Weird, yo. Moody blocked the law from taking effect in July of 2021, pending litigation in a lawsuit filed by the ACLU and others. All right. Now, the ACLU are more political shills. That's an organization that likes to hover around things in an attempt to control narratives and weaponize people's political issues to increase their own power over situations. The ACLU are no friends of anybody. They are friends of one particular group, but they're friends with that particular group that you're not allowed to talk about. I'm so grateful the judge heard my experience of how this healthcare has changed my life for the better and saw the dangerous impact this law could have on my life and that of countless other transgender people, said Dylan Brandt, a 17-year-old transgender boy from Arkansas and one of the plaintiffs, said in the case in a Tuesday statement. Okay. My mom and I wanted to fight this law, not just to protect my health care, but also ensure that transgender people like me can safely and fully live our truths, she said. Transgender kids across the country are having their own futures threatened by laws like this one, and it's up to all of us to speak out, fight back, and give them hope. Including Arkansas, 20 states have passed laws that heavily restrict or ban gender-affirming health care for transgender people. Now, again, I want you guys to pay very close attention. Most of these states have placed these bans on, but it's for minors, and they're leaving that part out in the media. These bans have been applied, and what they're regulating is transgender surgeries for minors. Right. Right, Cameron, and right, Carla. Facts. Laws in Alabama, Florida, and Indiana are blocked by preliminary injunctions from federal courts. In a statement on Tuesday, Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin said he plans to appeal Moody's decision. All right. So again, to me, this is just a bunch of Now, let me ask you guys a question. When they talk about first world problems, is this a first world problem? This is a first world privilege problem, if you ask me. If people actually were dealing with real issues, this kind of stuff, it wouldn't even be up for discussion. This wouldn't even be a topic of discussion. Wouldn't even be a topic of discussion. Vanderbilt turns over trans patient records to state in an attorney general probe. So again, what is the attorney general probing for? Vanderbilt University Medical Center has turned over transgender patient medical records to the Tennessee Attorney General Office, which confirmed Tuesday it is conducting an investigation into potential medical billing fraud. All right, so they're looking for fraudulent billing. Now, how would this fraudulent billing occur? VUMC, through a spokesperson, confirmed to the Tennessean on Tuesday that the facility provided patient medical records to the Attorney General. The Tennessean reviewed a VUMC notice informing patients of the move, which the facility said was the result of an investigation into billing for transgender care services provided to individuals enrolled in state-sponsored insurance plans. The state requested medical records from January 1st of 2018 to the present. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you all feel that state-sponsored? Do you all feel that state-sponsored insurance should cover these kind of surgeries? If you guys do, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, then give me a thumbs down. Torian said, Rob, do you type LGBTQ into the search bar and this is what comes up? No. Nah, a lot of these articles, I come across them after I post my other content on Twitter, and as I'm scrolling down, I'll see like this kind of stuff popping off. But anytime LGB minus the T is trending, I always click on it and see what they're talking about. Now, shout out to Jabad. Jabad said that's a white European problem. Let them ruin their kids. We just have to stay away. Now, here's my question. How do we stay away if we're stuck dead center in the United States? How do we do that? That's my question. So now here it says the Attorney General's office said VUMC began providing relevant records in December of 2022, and the state's investigation is focused on the facility and certain providers, not patients. The state has legal standing to seek the private medical records per a healthcare legal expert. However, the move has sparked privacy concerns among family whose children, look at this, whose children sought treatment at VUMC amid increasingly contentious political climate surrounding transgender issues in Tennessee, where multiple legal battles are ongoing over state policies. So again, these are first world problems. Shout out to DSA. What's good with it, bro? These are first world problems. VUMC received request from the Office of the Tennessee Attorney General as part of its investigation seeking information about trans care at VUMC. The Tennessee Attorney General has legal authority in an investigation to require that VUMC provide complete copies of patient medical records that are relevant to its investigation. VUMC was obligated to comply and did so, John Hauser, VUMC's chief communications officer, said in a statement. In its notice to patients, VUMC provided the records with the AG's assurance that the records would remain confidential as required by Tennessee law. So what it sounds like to me, it sounds like there are people that they believe fraudulently utilized state health care to pay for gender affirming and trans treatments. And it looks like they're going back through the records to try to figure out who did that and how much money was spent. Okay. We are surprised that VUMC has deliberately chosen to frighten its patients like this, AG Chief of Staff Brandon Smith said in an emailed statement. The office does not publicize fraud investigations to preserve the integrity of the investigative process. The office maintains patient records in the strictest confidence as required by law. The investigation is focused solely on VUMC and certain related providers, not patients, as VUMC is well aware. Court records filed in a separate case reveal Tennessee officials used a powerful legal tool called a civil investigative demand, which doesn't require probable cause or a judge to sign off on to compel testimony or documents. Tennessee first sought the medical records for a list of specific patients before issuing another CID in March with sweeping demands for broad documentation, including email, sent and received from general LGBTQ health program email addresses and names of any individual referred to the transgender clinic. It is unclear if Vanderbilt has supplied those records to the state. Chris Sanders, executive director for the Tennessee Equality Project, an LGBTQ advocacy organization, said 3 different parents of transgender children called him in a panic since Monday after they were told by Vanderbilt that their child's medical records were released to the Attorney General as part of an investigation. So, I mean, how many people would want to hear that? Shout out to PD Chicago B1. What's good with it, bro? Yeah, I got to agree. Facts, Val. If you guys agree with Val, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. The state shouldn't be responsible for gender affirming surgery. I agree with that. I don't feel like they should be either. Yeah, I agree, Jab Bad. That's not a bad idea. Sanders said the parents had no other details. They're terrified, he said. They don't know what's next. They don't know how this will be used or whether they will be targeted in some way. They feel like their privacy has been violated. Sanders said people are upset that Vanderbilt did not fight harder to prevent turning over patient information. He said others are concerned over the implications for other politically charged issues such as abortion and whether the Attorney General could obtain reproductive health care information. Parents affected were provided with a hotline number to call with questions and concerns, which is an answering service that asks callers to leave a name and a phone number. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skermetti said last fall that his office planned to investigate VUMC's practices after conservative advocates published allegations that VUMC punished those who objected to its gender-affirming treatment program for children and that some treatments were used as money-making schemes. Now, let me ask you all a question. How do you feel about this? Do you all think that this entire thing is a money-making scheme? Because like I said, if you ask me, I feel that it is. And I think that I've given sufficient evidence to support why I feel that it is. Oh, RD8811 on Rumble is mad. He says that black people are scum. Well, guess what? I'm the worst one. And I'm coming to smudge melanin on everything that you love. Let me ask you a question. Was it instinct or free will that you all chose the term man cave for where you like to dwell? How about answering that question for me? Vanderbilt denied the allegations, but the story sparked a major backlash among Tennessee conservatives. Everything sparks a major backlash among Tennessee conservatives. When it comes to Denver conservatives and Atlanta conservatives like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, it seems like everything might spark back shots. Just saying. Skermetti and Governor Bill Lee vowed to investigate the clinic's practices, though neither cited any current laws VUMC potentially ran afoul of at the time. Paul Hales, a St. Louis-based attorney who specializes in health information privacy, said the Attorney General has legal recourse under federal and state law to request patient health records if it is, in fact, investigating a possible issue at the medical center. They would have recourse under the law if they're making a valid administrative request, he said. Under HIPAA law, for uses and disclosures of medical records for which authoritarianism is not, or authorization, I'm sorry, is not required, the records can be released for a civil investigative demand. The information sought must be relevant to a legitimate law enforcement inquiry and is necessary when de-identification information, such as redacting a patient's name or other identifying information, could not reasonably be used, the federal health privacy law says. Right. Yeah, Jab said, and why do they call a dog their best friend and not a woman? Facts. Notice the men who say dog is man's best friend. Under its patient privacy practices, Vanderbilt on its website notes that it may share medical information with law enforcement for lawsuits or disputes. The VUMC controversy led to heated debates within the General Assembly this spring when the Republican supermajority debated its first piece of legislation to banning all gender transition treatment for minors. Now, here's my question. How do you all feel about that? Val said Robin, the Vincent Price villain laugh. Yeah, that's what Torian said. That's what Torian said. I'm telling you, I am here to give the worst depiction of any kind of nightmarish stereotype that these fearful little clowns can think of. You want to act like you're so scared? I'm going to give you a reason to be scared. They want a bad guy so bad? Say hello to the bad guy. Democrats and local families with transgender children lobbied unsuccessfully against the bill, arguing healthcare should remain a private decision between doctors and families. Let me ask you guys a question. Are alcohol and cigarettes a private decision between doctors and families? So you would think that something as life-changing as these surgeries would be something that would have to be discussed and consented upon by the family, and that you should have to be able to make a decision about as an adult. The law, set to go into effect July 1st, has been challenged by local families and the Department of Justice in a federal lawsuit, with the judge weighing whether to grant a preliminary injunction ahead of the trial. The law bans any treatments or procedures prescribed to treat gender dysphoria, such as puberty blockers, even though doctors could still prescribe those medications to children for other reasons. Now, let me ask you guys a question. What is gender dysphoria? You see, that's what we have to get to the root of. I need everybody that's watching this live stream to give me your best definition of gender dysphoria in the chat. What is gender dysphoria? Now, I need somebody to tell me another psychological issue that is treated with surgical intervention. Is there any psychological issue that can be found in the DSM-5 that is treated with surgical intervention? Is there anybody that can list anything like that? Minors currently undergoing treatment from in-state providers would have to cease treatments by next spring, which, I mean, that would leave them really messed up if they're not able to find another place where they can get that done. You know? Some lawmakers sought to include a child abuse portion in the legislation that would leave parents open to civil penalties if they supported a transgender child seeking gender-affirming care, but the measure was dropped before the bill's final passage. Now, if something like that were to happen, that story that we just read about from the New York Post, that would make the parents directly responsible for what ended up happening to that girl. Yeah, that's what gender dysphoria is. When your gender does when your psychological gender identity doesn't match with your sex, when your sex is matched with the gender that you're assigned at birth, which would be the same gender as your sex. But to say it more simply, what Carla said. You know what I'm saying? What Carla said. In a separate lawsuit filed last month, 2 former teachers and several Tennessee teacher associations sued Tennessee over state-sponsored health plans that specifically exclude coverage for gender-affirming care. Their health care policy specifically exclude coverage for gender-affirming care. A federal judge last year ruled against a Georgia county in a similar case, finding a county health care policy discriminated against the sheriff's deputy because the policy only affected transgender employees. Okay. So we've got all of these first world weird issues that, if you ask me, none of this stuff should even be a conversation. None of it should be a conversation. But in 2023, when there's a culture fake war, a culture grift going on as a result of people not wanting to be accountable for their contribution to human society, this is what we have. And we also have them attempting to turf it off on other groups of people, which we can't allow that to happen. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 3 of L.G.TV. Make sure you guys leave lots of comments. If you guys are watching on the replay, make sure that you leave a timestamp where you comment. Smash the like button. Share this video out to all of your followers. And I will catch you all on the next video. All right? Peace.